Some stories aren't told. They awaken on their own. Welcome to Whispers. There are mountains that do not echo. They listen, and they remember. February 1972. 9 hikers vanished on Blackstone Peak, deep in Wyoming's Wind River Range. When rescuers found their camp days later, the tent was shredded from the inside. Their footprints led into the snow and stopped. No one ever learned what happened that night. Day 1. They were young. David Keller, 24, the group's leader. Nora Alvarez, fearless climber. Ben Proctor, mechanical engineer and gear fanatic. Evie Hayes, runner, optimist, the heart of the team. And Caleb Voss, the quiet EMT whose hands never shook. They wanted to reach the summit in 7 days, to prove they could stand higher than the storms. They left their truck near Dubois, laughing, taking photos, unaware the mountain was already watching. By sunset, the wind turned white. They made camp at 8,000 feet, a narrow ridge sheltered by nothing but rock and ice. The air stung, the kind of cold that makes metal sing. That night, they wrote in their journals, "Tomorrow, the peak." Day 2. The weather broke. Snow fell in sheets so dense the world vanished 10 feet ahead. Still, they climbed. 1 step, 1 breath, each heartbeat measured in frost. By dusk, they pitched the tent halfway up the slope. Nora checked the anchors twice. Ben took one last picture, the tent glowing orange in the snow. It would be the last photograph of them alive. Sometime after midnight, something pressed down on the ridge. It began as a sound, a low vibration, like thunder underwater. The tent walls trembled. Evie woke first. "Did you hear that?" No one answered, because they all had. Then came the pressure. Not wind, not snow. Something heavier than both. The canvas stretched inward, poles bending, air thickening as if gravity had learned a new direction. "Out!" Nora shouted, but the zipper jammed, and the tent began to move. Not slide. Breathe. Caleb cut the fabric with his knife. Freezing air knifed in. They crawled into the storm barefoot, half-dressed, their breath torn away the moment it left their lips. Behind them, the tent sagged, as if something inside exhaled. They ran downhill through waist-deep snow. Their headlamps flickered, beams swallowed by white. When they reached the tree line, the pressure vanished. They built a fire. Ben's lighter barely worked. Evie's hands were purple, her lips trembling around words she couldn't say. The fire sputtered weakly, smoke curling in slow spirals, as if the air itself resisted the flame. "What was that?" Ben whispered. Nora didn't answer, because she was watching something move between the trees. Tall, human-shaped, but hollow. Where a face should have been, there was nothing. She blinked, and it was gone. They stayed by the fire until it hurt to feel again. Then, without speaking, They started back toward the tent. The footprints they'd left were gone. No new snow had fallen. The ground had smoothed over, like ice melting and freezing again in a single breath. When they found the tent, it was standing, repaired, the torn flaps stitched together with frost. Inside, their sleeping bags arranged neatly, their gear cleaned, folded, boots lined up. No one spoke. The silence felt aware. Evie began to cry. Her tears froze on her cheeks like glass. By morning, the storm cleared. They broke camp quickly. None of them looked back. They followed the ridge down to the frozen river valley. The air was metallic, each breath tasting like blood and battery acid. Caleb's compass spun. Their watches stopped. When they reached the ravine, they saw shapes ahead. 4 of them, lying in the snow. Bodies. Nora ran first, but when she reached them, she stopped. They weren't people. They were forms, made of snow, ice, and bark. Imitations, copies, each one perfectly matching their size and posture. One even wore a glove identical to hers. She whispered, "It's learning us." They kept moving until the slope broke into forest again. That night they set up camp in silence. No fire this time. They ate cold rations, their faces pale and hollow. Ben took the last photo on his roll. A blurry frame of Nora staring into darkness, eyes reflecting 2 small lights behind her. They never mentioned it. 2 days later, a rescue team found the camp. The tent stood half buried in snow. Inside, journals, cameras, gear, untouched. No blood, no tracks, just frost patterns blooming on the canvas walls, shaped like ribs, like something had breathed from within. They found bodies half a mile down, lying face up in the snow, arms drawn toward the ridge, eyes open, skin pale orange. No wounds, no explanation. The official report called it death by hypothermia caused by unknown environmental pressure. Case closed. But the rescuers said something else. When they cut down the tent, the snow beneath it was warm and faintly humming. No one returned to Blackstone Peak after that. The locals renamed it Silent Ridge. They say when the wind dies there, you can hear the air tightening, like lungs filling beneath the ground. And if you stand long enough, you'll taste metal. You'll hear the soft ping of fabric stretching. And you'll understand why the mountain never gives back what it learns. Because some mountains don't echo. They listen. And they remember. The story ends here, but they don't stop watching. Before you go, subscribe, like, and share, or the whispers may follow you home.